It was a summer night when I attended my college friend Jason's party. In the crowd, a girl in a red dress caught my eye. She was talking elegantly with her friends, and her smile lit up her face. At that moment, my heart raced and I felt something I had never felt before. I worked up the courage to go up to her and introduce myself, and she told me her name was Heather, and we chatted for a long time about everything from our hobbies and interests to our dreams for our lives, and I was captivated by Heather's intelligence, humor, and warmth. After that, we started dating more often. Every time I spent time with Heather, I felt incredibly happy and fulfilled. We explored every corner of the city together and shared our thoughts and secrets. Gradually, I realized that Heather was the one I had been looking for. Her presence filled a void in my life and brought a whole new color to my world. 3 months later, I proposed to Heather one night under a starry night sky. With tears in her eyes, she happily accepted my proposal. At that moment, I felt I was the luckiest man in the world. Our wedding was held in a beautiful garden. As Heather walked slowly in her white wedding dress on her father's arm, my heart was filled with endless emotion and joy. I knew that this moment would be one of the most important moments of my life. Our friends and family witnessed our union, and their blessings made the day even more perfect and memorable. Heather and I held hands and made our vows to be together for the rest of our lives. After the wedding, we started our sweet married life. We decorated our new home together and explored the unknown future together. Every day, we were immersed in each other's love and enjoyed every moment with our beloved. We began to envision the future, our children, our family. We believe that with each other we will be able to overcome all the difficulties of life and create a better future together. At that time, I was convinced that our love was invincible and that our marriage would last forever. I looked forward to our future and every day with Heather with great anticipation. However, life is always full of surprises and challenges. In the journey of marriage, we gradually realized that love is not all of life. The reality of all kinds of problems began to quietly test our feelings. Married life is not as smooth as we think. As time goes by, we all realize that marriage is not only about romance and passion, but also about responsibility and commitment. My business has entered a fast track of development. For the development of the company, I often worked late into the night, even on weekends. I put more and more time and energy into my work, but gradually neglected Heather's feelings. At first, Heather was very supportive of my work. She always took good care of my diet and prepared hot snacks for me when I worked late at night. Gradually, I realized that she was smiling less and less. Our communication became less and less, and even when we did have verbal communication, it was often about trivial household chores. I began traveling frequently, sometimes for weeks at a time. Every time I left home, Heather's eyes revealed a sense of loss and helplessness. I reassured her that when the company stabilized, I would be able to spend more time with her. But deep down, I knew it was a promise I couldn't keep. We started arguing about little things, and Heather complained that I didn't care about her and wasn't as thoughtful and romantic as I used to be. I accused her of not understanding my work pressure and not supporting my career. Our arguments became more and more frequent, and the atmosphere in our home became oppressive and cold. I tried to change that. I started to make an effort to spend time with Heather, even if it was just to have dinner together or take a walk on the weekends. But I realized that once I got involved in my work, it was hard for me to focus on our relationship. Heather had also started staying out late more often, explaining that she was meeting up with friends or working late. The pace of our lives seemed to be getting harder and harder to synchronize. We were both coping with the changes in our marriages in our own ways, but it was getting harder and harder to find our way back to each other. One time, I missed our anniversary because I was working. When I rushed home with flowers and gifts, I found Heather had already gone to bed early. Looking at her sad, sleeping face, I was filled with guilt and remorse. I realized that we can't go on like this. If we don't take our marriage seriously and work on our relationship, we will probably drift apart and end up in a place where we can't get back together. I began to reflect on my role in the marriage and the reasons for our problems. I realized that I had been too focused on my career and had neglected my wife's feelings and needs. I was determined to make a change and put more effort into our marriage. But I also realized that my efforts alone were not enough. I needed Heather's understanding and cooperation, and I needed us to face the problem together and find a solution. During that sleepless night, I tossed and turned, thinking about how to communicate with Heather and how to rebuild our relationship. I knew it would be a long and difficult process, but I was willing to try for our marriage, for our future. In the midst of my marital woes, I was presented with a new opportunity in my career. My college friends Ken and Andy approached me about starting an advertising agency. One of them specialized in marketing and the other in creative design. While I had some experience in management and operation, the three of us hit it off right away and quickly agreed to work together. We are all very enthusiastic and excited about this new venture, and I hope to take this opportunity to make a breakthrough in my career and lay a better foundation for our future life. We quickly found office space and recruited a group of young and promising employees. With our hard work, the company's business was soon on the right track. We received a number of important clients, the volume of business grew steadily, and the future of the company looked bright. I work well with Ken and Andy, and each of us brings our own strengths into play. Ken is responsible for marketing and client retention, and his excellent communication skills and contacts have won us many large clients, while Andy is fully committed to creative work, and his wild ideas and exquisite designs make our work stand out in the industry. I am responsible for the overall operation and management of the company. I formulate the company's development strategy, optimize the workflow, and strive to create a good working atmosphere for the team. In my work, I feel a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction that I have not felt for a long time. The three of us are like a golden combination, trusting and supporting each other. We used to go to the bar after work to have a drink, talk about the future of the company, and envision our business blueprints. At that time, I felt like we were a family, striving for a common goal. However, with the rapid growth of the company, some problems began to emerge. Ken began to become a bit arrogant, and his promises in front of the clients sometimes exceeded our actual ability. Andy, on the other hand, was so absorbed in the world of creativity that he sometimes overlooked the real needs of our clients. As the manager of the company, I have to balance the expectations of the customers and the actual situation of the company, and to harmonize the conflicts between Ken and Andy, as well as between them and other employees. These tasks bring me a lot of pressure and challenges. At times, I feel exhausted and confused. I don't know if I have the ability to lead this fast-growing team, and I don't know if I can handle all kinds of complicated interpersonal relationships. But every time, I remember our original intention of starting the business and our dreams and vows, which always give me the strength to continue to move forward. In the development of the company, I gradually realized that although Ken and Andy were my good friends and partners, we still needed to have certain limits and boundaries in our work. I began to learn to find a balance between work and friendship, learning how to not hurt feelings at the same time, but also to adhere to the principle of defending the interests of the company. The company has grown in the midst of opportunities and challenges. Our business grew, and so did our clientele. We started to consider expanding our office space and recruiting more talents. We are full of confidence and expectations for the future of our company. However, at this very juncture, a sudden event upset our equilibrium and brought a new shock to my personal life. Just when I was devoting myself to the development of the company, my personal life ushered in a huge crisis. On that day, I accidentally saw Heather's cell phone, and an ambiguous text message appeared in front of my eyes. I was incredulous, angry, and hurt. I confronted Heather, who at first tried to defend herself by saying it was just a normal conversation between coworkers. But after I pressed her, she finally admitted that she was indeed having an affair with the male coworker. This fact, like a sharp knife, cut through my heart. I felt betrayed and that our marriage was broken beyond repair. I asked Heather why she was doing this to me and why she was destroying our family. Heather cried and said that she felt that there was no love between us, that she felt alone and unappreciated. She said that the coworker gave her the attention and care that she had been missing in our marriage. I felt angry and confused. I didn't understand why I couldn't satisfy her after all I had done for the family. We had a big fight and said a lot of hurtful things. In the end, Heather slammed the door and left me alone in an empty house, facing our broken marriage. For the next few days, I worked and lived like a zombie. I tried to communicate with Heather to save our marriage, But every conversation turned into arguments and accusations. It seemed that we didn't have anything in common anymore. I began to wonder if our marriage was a mistake from the beginning, whether we really knew each other, whether our love could stand the test of reality. At the same time that my personal life was at a low ebb, the company was in serious trouble. An important client was so dissatisfied with our program that he threatened to terminate the contract. If we really lost this client, it would be a huge blow to the company. In order to save the situation, I had to work overtime and even overnight for weeks. I reworked the program, communicated with the clients, and tried to convince them to continue working with me. However, just when I was dealing with the company's crisis, I realized that Ken and Andy had stabbed me in the back. It turned out that while I was busy dealing with the client, they had reached some private agreements with the client's principal, and these agreements had seriously jeopardized the company's interests. I felt angry and disappointed. I asked Ken and Andy why they betrayed me and the company at this critical time. In return, they blamed me, saying that it was my management style that had caused the problems, that I was not adaptable, and that I did not know how to serve my customers. A heated argument broke out between us, and Ken even threatened to dissolve the partnership and start his own business. I knew that if they did, the company would be unsustainable. Under the double blows of career and marriage, I felt unprecedented pressure and helplessness. I didn't know how to face all these things, and I didn't know how to find a way out. Right on cue, I received a letter from Heather. She told me that she had decided to move to another city and asked me to sign the divorce papers as soon as possible. She said she was tired of our marriage and my obsession with work. She wanted to start her life over, and I was no longer a part of it. I sat dejectedly in my office, feeling as if my life had come to an end. The breakup of my marriage, the crisis in my career, the betrayal of my friends, all of these, like a huge whirlpool, swallowed me up. When I received Heather's request for divorce, I felt like the world had fallen apart. Despite the problems in our marriage, I never thought we'd get to this point. I tried to communicate with Heather to save our marriage, but every conversation turned into arguments and accusations. And Heather insisted on a divorce, saying she was tired of our marriage and my obsession with work. She wanted to start her life over, and I was no longer a part of it. I feel pain and reluctance. I didn't want to give up our marriage, our vows, and our dreams. But I also knew that if Heather's heart had already left, any effort I made to hold on to him would only prolong our pain. After much deliberation, I finally agreed to a divorce. This decision was incredibly difficult for me. The moment I signed the divorce papers, I felt a deep sense of loss and sadness, as if a part of myself had died with it. After the divorce, my life was a mess. I worked mechanically, but I felt that my life had lost its direction and meaning. I began to doubt myself in every decision I made. I kept asking myself, why did my marriage come to this? Did I do something wrong? I began to reevaluate my life. I realized that in the past, I had been so focused on my work and career that I had neglected the more important things in life: my family, my friends, and my own inner needs. I started to try to change. I tried to work less and spend more time with my family and friends. I started to try new hobbies, go to the gym, travel, and experience different lifestyles. Gradually, with the support of my family and friends, I began to come out of the shadow of divorce. I rediscovered the joy of life and found my self-worth. I began to understand that divorce does not mean failure in life, but a chance to start again. I began to reorganize my life. I decided that I wanted to achieve more in my career, but at the same time, I had to learn to balance work and life. I wanted to spend more time on myself and the people around me, and I wanted to pursue true inner happiness and fulfillment. The process has not been easy, and I often feel lost and uncertain. But every time I do, I think of my family and friends and the love and support they give me. I know that no matter how hard the road ahead is, I am not fighting alone. Gradually, I felt a renewed sense of hope in my life. I know that divorce is only a chapter in my life, not the end. I am determined to spend the rest of my life creating a better me and pursuing my own happiness. While my personal life was getting on track, the company was in a serious crisis. I discovered that Ken and Andy had been engaging in inappropriate behavior in the company. They were embezzling company funds, working part-time for a competitor, and revealing some of our trade secrets. Their behavior caused huge financial losses to the company and seriously damaged its reputation. Some of our clients lost trust in us, and the company's business dropped dramatically. I was very angry and disappointed. I didn't realize that my once trusted partner would do such a thing. I knew that if I didn't take action, the company would soon be on the verge of bankruptcy. It was at this time that I was approached by Kin's wife, Anne, and Andy's wife, Linda. They told me that they had overheard some inappropriate behavior on the part of their husbands, and they felt that I had a right to know. It turns out that Anne and Linda have long been dissatisfied with their husband's behavior. They regularly worked overtime, but always avoided talking about their work, and Anne and Linda initially thought they were just stressed out at work, but gradually realized there were some suspicious traces. Through a private investigation, Anne and Linda discover evidence of Kin and Andy's embezzlement and leakage of trade secrets. As the wives of the company's founders, they were outraged and ashamed. They decided to come forward and help me save the company. With the crucial evidence provided by Anne and Linda, we took immediate action. We had serious conversations with Kin and Andy to make them realize the seriousness of their actions. On the advice of their lawyers, we agreed that Kin and Andy could remain with the company, but their powers would be drastically curtailed and they would have to pay a certain amount of compensation. To salvage the company's reputation, we instituted a series of reforms. We have reorganized the company's financial management system and strengthened internal controls and auditing. We have also reformed the company's decision-making mechanisms to create a more democratic and transparent management system. At the same time, we also strengthened our communication with our customers. We sincerely explained the situation to them and promised that the company would hold itself to a higher standard. We worked hard to rebuild the trust of our customers and to retain them with quality services. Gradually, through our tireless efforts, the company's business began to recover and we won the trust of new customers. The company's reputation was restored and we were once again on firm footing. During this crisis, I have come to realize that integrity and trust are the most valuable assets of a company. No matter how much temptation and pressure we face, we must adhere to the correct values and be a responsible corporate citizen. At the same time, I felt the strength of my family and friends. Thanks to Anne and Linda, we were able to expose Kin and Andy's misconduct in time to prevent further damage to the company. After the failure of my marriage and the crisis in my career, I have entered a whole new phase in my life. Although the pain of the past is still there, I have learned to live with it and draw strength from it. In my personal life, I began to re-examine my needs and values. I realized that I could no longer let my work dominate my entire life and that I needed to make more time and space for myself and for the people I love. I started trying something new in my life. I enrolled in a yoga class and started learning to meditate. I found that these exercises not only relaxed my body but also calmed my mind. Gradually, I felt more peaceful and contented. I also started to pay more attention to the people around me. I tried to be a better father and become more involved in my children's lives. I also reconnected with some old friends and we met for hikes, picnics, and shared our life stories. I met Kiko at a friend's party. She is a woman from Japan, a single mother, and works in an art gallery. We hit it off right away and became fast friends. Kiko's life story is somewhat similar to mine. She had a bad marriage and raised her children on her own. But instead of being crushed by life, she found her strength and direction in the face of adversity. We often talked together, sharing our thoughts and feelings. Gradually, I realized that I had developed special feelings for Kiko. We had both experienced the hardships of life, but neither of us had given up our desire for love and happiness. On the business side, the company has found a new direction after the crisis. We have decided to make the company a more responsible and socially conscious organization. We have stepped up our investment in social programs and are working hard to contribute to the development of our communities. We have also placed greater emphasis on the development and well-being of our employees. We have established a more humanized management system and provided more training and development opportunities for our employees. We hope that every employee can find his/her own value in the company and realize his/her own life goal. With the help of Anne and Linda, I have gradually adapted to my role as the sole leader of the company. I learned how to listen to my employees and how to manage the company's operations more effectively. I feel the strength of the team and the trust and support from everyone. Gradually, the company was revitalized. Our business continued to expand, and our team continued to grow. We have won the trust of more customers and the respect of the society. I am proud of what we have achieved. On an autumn evening, Kiko and I were walking in the park. The golden sunlight was shining on the lake, and a group of children were playing on the grass. We held hands and shared our thoughts with each other. I told Kiko that I loved her and that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her, and Kiko smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. She said that she loved me too, and that she wanted to start a new chapter of her life with me. As we embraced each other in the sunset, I felt happiness and fulfillment like never before. I knew that no matter how long and difficult the road ahead was, I was no longer fighting alone. I have people who love me, friends, and team who support me. Life is full of surprises and challenges, but it is these experiences that shape our character and make us better versions of ourselves. The failure of my marriage has taught me how to love and tolerate. The setbacks in my career have taught me how to face and solve difficulties. All these have made me a more complete and stronger person. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.